Good morning, Virgo. Anna here from your channel, Virgo. Uh, Someone who's been playing games just got played by their own heart, and the chaos in their head right now is beautiful. Subscribe because what I'm about to reveal will change how you see everything. Okay, there's a player in your orbit. You know the type: smooth talker, serial charmer, person who collects hearts like trophies, who moves through relationships without getting attached, who prides themselves on never catching feelings, on always being the one in control, the one who leaves before getting left, the one who keeps it casual because casual is safe, because casual doesn't hurt, because casual means they get all the benefits of connection without any of the vulnerability that comes from actually caring whether someone stays or goes. They had a system, had a whole philosophy about how to engage without getting entangled, had rules about not texting first too often, not being too available, not showing too much interest, not letting anyone get close enough to matter. And that system worked for them. Worked for years, maybe. Worked through countless situations where others caught feelings and they didn't, where others wanted more and they didn't, where others got hurt and they walked away unscathed because they knew how to protect themselves, knew how to keep emotional distance even during physical closeness, knew how to make people feel special without actually treating them as special. Then they encountered you. And everything they thought they knew about themselves, about their capacity to stay detached, about their immunity to catching feelings. All of it is disintegrating in real time, and they're spiraling because this isn't supposed to happen to them, is less than #0. 5 is greater than. This happens to other people. This happens to the people they play with. This doesn't happen to the player. The player stays cool. The player stays in control. The player doesn't lose sleep thinking about someone, doesn't check their phone obsessively hoping for message, doesn't feel genuine anxiety about whether that person is thinking about them or has moved on or is talking to someone else. But they're doing all of those things now because of you, and they're losing their fucking mind about it. Here's what's happening in their internal world. Here's the psychological carnage you're creating just by existing, just by being yourself, just by having whatever quality or energy or essence that broke through defenses they thought were impenetrable. First, there's confusion, genuine bewilderment about why you're different. They've been with more conventionally attractive people, more obviously available people, more eager people who made interest clear and pursuit easy. By all their usual metrics, you shouldn't be the one who gets under their skin. You shouldn't be the one occupying their thoughts. You shouldn't be the one they can't stop thinking about, even when they're with other people, even when they're trying to focus on work or sleep or anything that isn't you. But metrics don't explain chemistry, logic doesn't explain resonance, and what you've triggered in them operates at level that bypasses their conscious control. Hits something primal, something they didn't know was there or didn't know could be activated, something that makes all their carefully constructed emotional distance collapse because distance requires not caring, and they're discovering they care is less than has home. 0 is greater than. They care intensely. They care in ways that scare them, precisely because caring was never supposed to be part of the equation. Second, there's resistance, internal war between who they've been and who they're becoming because of you. Part of them is fighting this hard, is trying to reassert control, is telling themselves they're just intrigued because you're challenged, because you're not falling at their feet like others have, because once they get you, the feelings will dissipate like they always do. This part is creating distance strategically, pulling back when they feel themselves getting too invested, seeing other people to prove to themselves they're not that into you, playing it cool to maintain the image they've built of themselves as someone who doesn't get affected. But the resistance is failing. They pull back and miss you immediately. They see other people and compare them to you, and everyone falls short. They play it cool, and it feels like lying because cool is not what they actually feel. What they feel is heat, intensity, longing that's foreign to their usual experience. Want that goes beyond physical, though physical is definitely there. They want your presence, your attention, your focus on them. They want to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, whether you're affected by them the way they're affected by you, or whether you're immune in ways they wish they were immune but aren't anymore. Third, there's fantasy. Um, they're imagining scenarios they never imagined before, not just sexual scenarios, though those are definitely happening, romantic scenarios, relationship scenarios, future scenarios where you're together, where they get to keep you, where this feeling they're experiencing doesn't have to end because the situation doesn't end. They're picturing waking up next to you, traveling with you, introducing you to people who matter to them, building something real with you instead of keeping things casual like they've always kept things. And these fantasies terrify them as much as they excite them, because fantasies about future mean investment, mean vulnerability. I mean, setting themselves up for potential heartbreak in ways they've successfully avoided their entire adult life. Players don't do heartbreak because players don't invest hearts, but they're investing now. They're in deep without having consciously chosen to go deep. They're attached without having meant to attach. And that lack of control, that sense of being at mercy of feelings they didn't authorize, that's creating the mental chaos, the loss of equilibrium, the sense that they're losing their mind because the self they knew, the player they were, is dissolving, and they don't know who they're becoming, except that whoever they're becoming is someone who cares about you in ways that make them vulnerable. This reflection invites you to consider, have you noticed them acting differently lately, showing cracks in the cool facade they usually maintain? Let me break down the specific signs that reveal they're thinking about you romantically versus just sexually or casually. Because players think about lots of people, players maintain rosters, players keep options open. What distinguishes how they're thinking about you from how they think about others they're engaging with is quality and consistency of the thoughts, is emotional content wrapped around the attraction, is the way you've become not just body they want to be physical with, but a person they want to know, to understand, to be close to in ways that transcend physical closeness. First sign, They remember things, not just the obvious things, the small things, details you mentioned in passing about your preferences, your history, your dreams, your fears. They're storing this information. They're thinking about it later. They're bringing it up in future conversations, showing they weren't just waiting for their turn to talk, they were actually listening, actually caring about what you said, actually filing away pieces of you they can reference to show you. They pay attention, they value what you share, they want to know you beyond surface level that's sufficient for casual involvement. Players don't have to remember because people they're playing with are interchangeable, are serving function rather than being individuals whose particularities matter. If they're remembering details about you, if they're demonstrating that what you say sticks with them, that's them processing you differently than they process others, that's romantic interest emerging beneath or alongside sexual interest. Second sign, they're sharing parts of themselves they usually protect. Players perform. Players show you version of themselves designed to attract without revealing. Players keep their actual selves, their vulnerabilities, their wounds, their genuine hopes and fears, protected behind charm and surface level charisma that's appealing but not authentic. But with you, they're dropping the performance, letting you see behind the mask, telling you things they don't tell others, showing you insecurities or aspirations or histories they typically keep private. This vulnerability is them testing whether you can be trusted with real them, is them hoping that real them is what you want rather than performed them, is them wanting connection that's based on truth rather than on image, because image based connections don't satisfy what they're craving with you, which is something genuine, something that feels real, even though real is scary, real is risky, real is exactly what they've been avoiding through all their player behavior. Third sign, they're jealous. Players don't get jealous. Players don't care who else you're seeing because they're seeing other people too. Because the whole arrangement is casual, because jealousy requires investment they're specifically avoiding through their player lifestyle. But they're jealous about you. They're asking questions about who else you're talking to. They're watching how you interact with others. They're bothered when you give attention to someone else that they want directed at them exclusively. This jealousy reveals that their feelings aren't casual, that they want more access than casual arrangement provides, that they're starting to think of you as theirs or wanting you to be theirs in ways that contradict everything about how they've been operating, is less than #0. 5# is greater than. And the jealousy confuses them because it's not emotion they're used to feeling, not emotion they know how to handle, not emotion that fits with their self concept as person who doesn't get attached. Fourth sign, they're initiating contact more than they should if they were playing it cool. Players have rules about not appearing too eager, about making others chase, about maintaining mystique through strategic absence, but they're breaking those rules with you. They're texting you first. They're reaching out when they're thinking about you, even though texting first gives you power, shows their hand, reveals they're more interested than they're supposed to be. This failure to maintain player protocol, this inability to stick to the rules that have served them well in staying detached, this shows that their desire to connect with you is stronger than their desire to appear unaffected. They'd rather have conversation with you than maintain image of being too cool to care whether conversation happens. That prioritization of actual connection over perceived power dynamic is them choosing you over their ego, choosing engagement over self protection. And that choice, even if they're making it unconsciously, even if they're not fully aware they're making it, reveals that what they feel for you is shifting from casual interest into something that looks a lot like romantic investment. This reflection invites you to consider which of these signs have you been observing and what do they tell you about where their feelings actually are. Now let's address what you should do with this information. Is less than has hone, zero hash is greater than. Because knowing a player is catching feelings for you is one thing. Deciding how to respond to that is entirely different thing. First consideration, do you want them? Not who they've been, who they could become if their feelings for you motivate genuine transformation. Because reformed players can become incredible partners. They've seen the game from every angle. They know how to make someone feel special because they've been doing it manipulatively for years. If they redirect that skill toward genuinely cherishing someone instead of using it to maintain emotional distance while securing physical connection, if they apply their understanding of attraction and desire and pursuit toward building something real rather than toward avoiding anything real, they become partners who know how to keep spark alive, who understand that relationships require effort and attention, who don't take you for granted because they remember what it felt like when you weren't theirs, when they were in that chaotic mental space of wanting you without knowing if they could have you. But transformation isn't guaranteed. Some players catch feelings and it motivates temporary adjustment that reverts once they feel secure. Some players experience this romantic chaos and run from it rather than leaning into it, scared by the vulnerability, choosing familiar emptiness of playing over unfamiliar intensity of actually caring. Some players want you until they have you, and then the wanting fades, because wanting was about chase, about conquest, about proving they could get you, not about actually being with you once the challenge is resolved is less than has home. Zero hash is greater than. So your job is assessment. Your job is watching what they do, not what they say. Your job is requiring proof that the romantic feelings translating into romantic behavior, into actual commitment, into them being willing to give up the player lifestyle for exclusive committed relationship with you. And that proof needs to be sustained, needs to be consistent, needs to be demonstrated over time long enough that you can trust its real transformation rather than temporary performance designed to secure you before reverting to type. Second consideration, can you trust them given their history? They've hurt people. They've been casual about others' feelings. They've prioritized their own emotional safety over others' hearts. That history doesn't erase just because they caught feelings for you. That history is data about their character, their capacity, their patterns. Now, people can change. Growth is real. Someone who's been player can become someone who's capable of committed partnership if they do the internal work, if they address what made them choose player lifestyle in the first place, what wounds or fears they were protecting through keeping everyone at distance, what they need to heal so that closeness doesn't feel like threat. But you need to see evidence of that work. You need to see them examining their patterns, taking accountability for harm they've caused others, demonstrating understanding of why they operated the way they did and what's different now that makes them capable of different behavior. If they're just expecting you to trust that their feelings for you make them different without them actually doing work to be different, if they want credit for wanting to change without demonstrating they've actually changed, that's red flag. Suggesting their romantic feelings might not be enough to override their ingrained patterns is less than #0. 5# is greater than. Third consideration: what do you actually want? Do you want them? Do you want reformed player with all the complexity that entails? Or is there part of you that's enjoying having power over someone who's usually in power position, enjoying watching them lose their cool over you, enjoying the validation of making player fall, but not actually wanting relationship with them, not actually being interested in building something with someone whose history reveals they're capable of hurting people when it serves them? Because your enjoyment of their chaos doesn't obligate your reciprocation. You're allowed to appreciate that you affected someone so deeply while not wanting to actually be with them. You're allowed to feel satisfied that you broke through their defenses while maintaining your own defenses against them. You're allowed to recognize their romantic feelings without developing matching romantic feelings, without feeling guilty that you don't want what they want, without feeling responsible for their emotional state that they created by catching feelings for someone who didn't promise them anything. Fourth consideration: timing and readiness. Even if they're genuine, even if they've done the work, even if you want them and trust is possible, are you ready? Are they ready? Is this the right time for both of you to attempt something that would require vulnerability, commitment, patience, while they prove transformation is real? Sometimes right person, wrong time is real thing. Sometimes feelings exist, but capacity doesn't. Sometimes wanting each other isn't enough if other factors make successful partnership unlikely. And being honest about timing, about readiness, about whether conditions exist for this to work, rather than just hoping feelings will overcome all obstacles, that honesty serves both of you better than forcing something that isn't quite right just because feelings are there. This reflection invites you to consider setting aside their feelings. What do you actually feel, and what do you actually want with this person? Let me speak to the specific dynamic of having power over someone who usually has power. It feels good, it's validating, it's satisfying to watch someone who's typically composed lose their composure over you, to see someone who's usually in control lose control because of you. There's justice in it if they've been playing you or playing people you care about. There's pleasure in it regardless, because being desired intensely feels good, being thought about romantically feels good, having someone lose their mind over you feels good. But don't let the power go to your head in ways that make you cruel. Don't weaponize their vulnerability against them. Don't play with their feelings just because they've played with others' feelings. Don't string them along if you're not interested, just because watching them squirm gives you satisfaction. That behavior, that using someone's genuine feelings as entertainment or as revenge, makes you the player, makes you the person causing harm, makes you someone whose behavior would need examining if you later wanted to be in healthy partnership, is less than #0. 5# is greater than. Hold your power gently, exercise it wisely. If you want them, if you're willing to give them chance contingent on sustained demonstration of change, be clear about that. Be honest about your requirements, your boundaries, your expectations. Give them fair opportunity to meet you where you need to be met. If you don't want them, if the romantic interest isn't reciprocal, be clear about that too. Don't leave them hoping. Don't keep them in limbo. Don't let them think persistence will eventually win you over if you already know they won't. Kindness is honesty. Cruelty is stringing someone along, letting them invest more and more in pursuit of outcome, isn't available. And if you're uncertain, if you need time to figure out what you feel and what you want, communicate that. Tell them you're aware they're interested. You're processing your own feelings. You need space to determine your truth without pressure. Claiming time for yourself isn't game playing, it's self respect. It's recognizing that their urgency doesn't have to be your urgency. Their clarity about wanting you doesn't mean you have to have instant clarity about wanting them. The power you hold is real. The impact you're having on them is substantial. Use both responsibly, not as weapon, not as toy, as opportunity to demonstrate the kind of person you are, the kind of person who handles power without abusing it, who treats others' vulnerability with care, even when those others might not have treated vulnerability carefully in their past. You've got this player losing their mind. They're thinking about you romantically. The chaos in their head is confirmation of your impact. What you do with that confirmation, how you respond to their romantic interest, whether you explore possibility or decline it clearly, whether you give them chance to prove transformation or protect yourself from someone with history of hurting people, those choices are yours to make. Make them from your truth, make them from your wisdom, make them with full awareness that their feelings don't obligate your reciprocation. But if reciprocation exists, if possibility exists, approaching it with eyes open to both potential and risk serves you better than approaching it blind or approaching it cynically. They're losing their mind over you. You're keeping yours. That's exactly as it should be. Stay grounded, stay clear, stay honest about what you want and what you're willing to risk to pursue it. The player played themselves by catching feelings they never meant to catch. What happens next is entirely up to you.